W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Are you guys getting in the mood, West Alabama? Valentine's Day is fastly approaching, and all you need is love and coffee, and that's exactly what you'll find at Strange Brew Coffee House at 1101 University Boulevard, right there on the strip at the University of Alabama campus. And hey, they are rolling out brand new flavors for this month, including the Makeout, chocolate-covered berry, the cutie pie, drunken love, and flowers and chocolate. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House and get all of the love and coffee you so desperately deserve. And ladies and gentlemen, just like that, there are now 3 first-place teams atop the standings in the SEC basketball, as Alabama, South Carolina, and Auburn are all sitting there with 2 losses now. We will get in there and discuss the SEC basketball from this past week and, of course, moving forward. We are also going to talk about National Signing Day yesterday and preview the Super Bowl. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show. We've got a lot to cover. Let's get things rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And Heath, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you. And Heath, how are things going with you?
Brother, it is windy here in Northwest Mississippi, the Memphis, Tennessee area, the Mid-South. It is crazy windy today, Stephen.
So, Heath, I do want to mention this before we go any further. This weekend, just like last weekend, unfortunately, it looks like it is going to be another washout and another wet one here in Tuscaloosa and all across the Southeast, because between tomorrow evening and Monday, we're exposed to see close to 2 inches, maybe even more, right here in West Alabama and in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, you know, hey, if you love your lawn and you're like crazy about your yard, this is like a great time to go out and fertilize it. Fertilize it right before that rain gets here. And because you'll get a jump on those weeds and your grass will turn a little bit greener before your neighbor's does. We'll make it look all good, nice. But yeah, Stephen, man, it's that time of year, man. It's just that time of year. We get if it's not snow and ice, it's rain in February. March, rain. April, showers bring May flowers. We're just in that time of year where it just rains all the time.
All right. So, Heath, we're not going to do a deep dive into this because I do not like and you don't like talking about recruiting. However, I really was surprised about one thing that happened yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but Heath, did you see that the Billy Napier and the Florida Gators got a top 10 recruiting class after going 5-7 last year and 3-5 in the conference? That shocked me. Your thoughts on Billy Napier getting a top 10 recruiting class yesterday?
Well, it would have been a lot higher. You know, he lost some recruits on the first signing day, you know, back in December. He lost like, I want to say like 3 or 4 top guys, like super, like he was supposed to have the #1 recruiting class, or he was going to be one of the top recruiting classes. He had a chance to be #1, and he still finished in the top 10. So not shocked at all. I mean, Billy Napier is a good coach. Obviously, he's a good recruiter. You know, they had that drama last year. They brought in that quarterback, and there was something with the NIL deal, and he ended up leaving. And so I don't know what's going on over there as far as all that. But, you know, Billy Napier is busting his tail. And here's the crazy thing, Stephen, and we're not going to stay on it long, like you said. A few years back, you would give a coach 4 or 5 years to build a program.
Yep.
You know, and then it's been shortened. And now with the transfer portal, they're like, if you can't fix this in a year, you're out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just crazy of how things are going. Just crazy. So do I think Florida's going to give Billy Napier 4 or 5 years to figure out? No, Billy's got to win this year. He's got to win this year. He could have signed the #1 recruiting class. And if he goes 6-6, they're going to can him.
And, you know, Heath, you were just talking about, you know, turning it around quickly. And we talked about it all off season last year, that Eli Drinkowitz was on the hot seat. And look what he did with that Missouri program just last season.
Yeah, you know, and I said it all on the show. If you listen to the show or a big listener of the show, you know, I was saying Sam Pittman would probably be the first coach to be fired, just because I looked at that schedule and I know how Arkansas fans are, and I know that buyout's not that big, but something's going on at Arkansas too, Stephen. And I'm talking about from the AD, from the athletic director. There's just not good leadership over there. I mean, if you look at Arkansas, they're suffering in women's sports. They're suffering in men's basketball. They have been suffering in football and baseball. God bless them. Phenomenal program, one of the best programs in the country. And they just can't get over the hump to win it all. Even when they have all the talent, they cannot manage a pitching staff correctly. I mean, Arkansas fans, long suffering right now. They are hurting over there.
And Heath, did you hear the news that happened yesterday that Peyton Stovall will miss 4 to 6 weeks due to a broken foot that he suffered due to being hit by a pitch in practice yesterday?
Man, the hits just keep on coming. That's terrible news. That's terrible news, man. You know, Arkansas, I feel for you. I really do. I'm not an Arkansas fan.
Yes.
I feel for you. Bad. I mean, you guys just cannot catch a break right now.
And their basketball team, it was supposed to be one of the top tier teams this season, and they are sitting there with only 2 conference wins.
Here's the crazy thing about that, Stephen. They went super elite talent through the draft. Yeah. That is a super elite team as far as talent goes. I'm not talking about really good or very good or awesome. I'm talking super elite, better than elite. And they're just not winning, man. They're not gelling. I can't wait to talk to Chris Lee, our guest today from Southeastern 14. I am going to ask him directly his thoughts about Arkansas. And
Heath, let me just go on ahead and finish up this segment by saying this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. We are seeing right now in the SEC this season the problem with the transfer portal and the greatness of the transfer portal. Look at what South Carolina men's basketball has done. A bunch of transfers. Look how they're doing, as they've only lost 3 games this season. And then look at Arkansas. They had a transfer portal issue in the offseason, and look how bad they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas hit not only home runs but grand slams in the transfer portal, and it's not going to wins on the court. At South Carolina, we didn't really care what they did. We were like, oh, well, whatever. It's South Carolina. You're just trying to put a team together. And they're killing it. They are even the biggest homers in Columbia, South Carolina. The biggest massive homer, none of them saw this coming. And good for South Carolina. Right. It's a great story this year. It's a phenomenal story.
I mean, the men's basketball up there in South Carolina, I bet every South Carolina fan was like, all right, let's go with Dawn Staley and let's see what women's basketball can do up there. But I would argue that South Carolina men's basketball is right up there talent-wise with the women up there.
Brother, fans in Columbia, Gamecock fans, they are tickled to death, excited about every single game. And I'll say this, Stephen, because this is not happening in Tuscaloosa, and I can't ever remember it ever happening. When schools put big-time money towards women's basketball and they start winning at an elite level, it is super fun. Everyone comes out to back those, and you love those girls. You love those ladies, and they are so endearing. And women are better shooters than men. Men, of course, are better athletes and play at a higher level and can dunk, and they're stronger and jump higher and all that. But when it comes to pure shooting, women are so much better. And with that, Stephen, those games are super fun. And I just wish the folks in Alabama could experience that once. I've just seen that.
Let me throw a wrinkle in that right now. The Alabama women's basketball team in conference is 5-4, and their overall record is 18-6 right now. So they're not doing too bad. Heath, hold that thought because we're up against our first break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined by Southeastern 14's own Chris Lee to get his take on college basketball. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with SEC 14's own Chris Lee. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Do you guys like to fish? I know I do, and if you have a pond or lake in your backyard that needs stocking of fish, you need to contact biologist Jeff Bagwell with Honey Hole Fisheries. He can help you stock your lake with bluegill, largemouth bass, and hybrid striped bass. You can get in touch with Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Honey Hole Fisheries, 205-799-0192. Contact Mr. Jeff Bagwell today and let him help you build the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Watch for an accident blocking 2 lanes of traffic eastbound McFarland Boulevard before 13th Street. The left and center lanes are blocked. Also, we've got construction on McFarland between University Boulevard and Lurleen B. Wallace Boulevard.
At these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Roll Tide. The best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back inside the Stingray Show, and now we are going to transition into a little bit of college sports talk, as we're going to talk a little college basketball, college baseball, and even some college football. And in order to do that, we are going to be joined by none other than Southeastern 14's own Chris Lee. Chris, how are things going with you?
Busy time, Stephen. Really busy, but this is what we live for. We're getting closer to tournament play. We're getting closer to the start of baseball season, and it's about to be my favorite time of the year.
All right, so we're not going to do a deep dive into this, but yesterday was National Signing Day for college football, and there was one thing that really, really surprised me. and I want to get your take on it. After going 5-7 last year and a 3-5 record in the SEC and a disastrous end to the season, Billy Napier in Florida got a top 10 recruiting class yesterday. Your thoughts on Florida getting a top 10 recruiting class after a 5-7 season last year?
Well, look, it's the SEC. Florida's been a powerhouse for a while, even if it's been down. You should always be able to recruit at Florida. That's number one. Number two, hey, you can sell playing time in the SEC. Florida's got opportunity. I'm sure Billy Napier played that up. Number three, NIL. You can solve a lot of problems with the right NIL program. Florida's feels like it's got that going in the right direction.
Okay.
I mean, look, Florida doing things on the recruiting trail should be no news. Florida's been down before. It's battled back. I think that Billy Napier was buried by a lot of people last year. That might have been premature, although, boy, that schedule this next year won't be easy.
No, it's brutal. So, Chris, I want to get your take on something else that's a surprise. The Kentucky Wildcats lost again on Saturday when 103 points were dropped on them by Tennessee. Your thoughts on Kentucky that is now sitting middle of the road in the SEC in the standings?
Well, I think you saw the best and the worst of Kentucky this week. Starting with the Tennessee game, this is a team that is just at times atrocious defensively. I was listening to Field of 68 on Thursday. They've talked about this a lot lately. Kentucky seems to have a lot of trouble just recognizing what coverage it's in with ball screens and stuff like that. And that leads to a lot of confusion. It's led to some easy buckets. Kentucky's also a very young team. Everybody knows that. I mean, I know they've got some experienced guys in Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves, but Mitchell's been out with back issues, which have really affected his productivity when he's played. That said, Kentucky went to Nashville and obliterated Vanderbilt, scored 109 points. Vanderbilt's awful, but Kentucky, I think, could have scored 130 if it wanted to that night. And that points to the offensive upside. They get scoring from so many places. They can get it from Dillingham. They can get it from Reeves. They can get it from a bunch of guys. And I think if Kentucky can shore up its defensive issues and get better and show maturity as a team, then it's a team to be reckoned with in March. If those defensive issues persist, then it might be a team that doesn't get to the second week. And the talent's there, but I'm going to be watching closely from probably end of February on to see how that resolves or doesn't.
Heath?
Looking at Kentucky, I mean, John Calipari he's not a spring chicken. He has seen it all. He has done it all. I mean, he can go through this. But, talking to Kentucky fans, they feel like Calipari is kind of taking a back seat after he got that super fat contract. And it's almost impossible to fire him. I mean, his contract is Jimbo Fisher-like. Massive buyout. Is he kind of going through the motions, or are we going to see Cal kind of get after it here? I mean, which Cal are we going to get? What do you think, Chris?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to say he's going through the motions. I'm not there. I'm not dialed into all the behind-the-scenes stuff. But, look, they haven't been to a Final Four since, is it 2015? Something like that. I don't have the exact number in front of me. I mean, that's been a while. They've missed an NCAA tournament or two in the midst of that. I don't know that it's fair to say the game has passed him by, but you've got to have the right mix of veterans. Look, we're playing in an era where you got 23, 24, 25-year-old dudes in some places, probably maybe older, playing college basketball. You got guys getting fifth and sixth years. And so that exacerbates the way that the problems with the way he wants to build the roster, which is signing 4 to 5 McDonald's All-Americans every year. Again,
the one and done guys.
And again, I said that they've got some older guys. They got Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves who played a lot of ball, but one of the two is hurt right now. His best team that he's had in a while was that national title team where they had some sophomores in Lamb and guys like that had played. Well, I can't remember. Names are escaping me, but they had some sophomores and juniors playing some roles for them on that team. And I think that made a big difference. That leveled some things out. You also had a generational college basketball player named Anthony Davis. I just don't think it's the mix right now, albeit they're really talented, that it was on some of his his best of the best teams.
You know, looking at the East right now, and I know divisions are not that big a deal in basketball, but looking at the East, I mean, who's somebody that's slowly climbing up that we don't have our eye on? Because we all look at South Carolina now. South Carolina's killing it. But who is a team that we're not keeping our eye on?
Florida's the definition of that team probably for the casual fan. No, Florida's lacking some of those quad one wins. It just doesn't have – I think it's 1-7 in quad one, but Florida's really good. I mean, you watch them, you look at the makeup of that roster. Zion Pullen is one of the more talented point guards around. They got Tyrese Samuel, who's one of the better forwards in the league. They got Walter Clayton, who's done a lot of things. They've got Will Richard, who's done a lot of stuff. And, oh, by the way, the guy that was supposed to be their best player coming into the year, Riley Kugel, has not shown up and played anywhere near the level that he's played at. You've seen bits and pieces lately of what Florida can be. Almost pulled off a win in College Station against an A&M team that's getting a little better. Didn't get that, kind of needed it, but it did go to Lexington and win a game in overtime at a place where I know Kentucky's a little bit down, but still not a lot of people win in Lexington. That's a really talented team that I'm keeping an eye on. Florida just needs to get some quality wins because the computer metrics, I think, are going to be there to get that team in the tournament, and it's certainly talented enough to get there.
So, Chris, let's go ahead and go back to last night, the game down in the jungle between Alabama.
Hey, Stephen, I think we lost Stephen there for a second. He's talking about the Alabama game last night. You know, Chris, I only saw highlights of that. What were your thoughts about Alabama's game last night?
Well, look, if you come into the game saying Alabama's going to get into a war of fouling attrition, you pretty much know right off that's going to end up in an Auburn win. That's what it ended up in. There were 80-something free throws, I think, shot in this game. Jalen Williams had a career high. Janai Broome had the usual Janai Broome game. Charles Barkley made a really interesting comment. He said, as an Auburn guy, I looked at Alabama. You know, he's in the building. He said, these guys are thin. I think it's going to be our night. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he was kind of right. I think that Auburn really pushed the pace. Alabama wasn't always able to get back, and Auburn got some easier buckets in transition with some numbers and things like that. I just think it was a nightmare scenario for Alabama, and when all the pieces came together, it was an Auburn blowout.
Mm-hmm. You know, is that the recipe to beat Alabama this year? Because, you know, the SEC is a repeat league, no matter what the sport is. If someone gets success against you, you're going to see that over and over and over again for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Is that a situation that Alabama's going to see that, and how do they adapt?
Well, I would worry about any team with premium bigs, you know, a Purdue, a Connecticut, somebody like that down the line in the tournament. You saw it with Auburn last night. Kentucky's a team with a lot of size. Alabama and Kentucky play, I think, here in a week or two. That's a game I've had circled for a long time. Both teams have got defensive deficiencies, but Kentucky's got some size and some muscle that maybe Alabama doesn't have. Look, Grant Nelson's a good player. He's a really good player, but he's kind of more of a stretch four than he is, you know, who can handle the ball than he is an eraser underneath. I just feel like maybe that dimension is missing for Alabama. Last year, Alabama had Charles Bediako, doesn't have him this year, among other things. I think it's a really good team, but you saw Alabama's flaws put right before you on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, hold that thought because we're up against another break, and when we come back, we are going to continue to dive into SEC basketball and then talk to Super Bowl. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back. Are you guys getting in the mood? West Alabama, Valentine's Day is fastly approaching, and all you need is love and coffee, and that's exactly what you'll find at Strange Brew Coffee House at 1101 University Boulevard, right there on the strip at the University of Alabama campus. And hey, they are rolling out brand new flavors for this month, including the Makeout, chocolate covered berry, the cutie pie, drunken love, and flowers and chocolate. Go by Strange Brew Coffee House and get all of the love and coffee you so desperately deserve. Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Hagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Hagler.
Necessary. If you want to pay more, that's your business. If you want to save, that's our business. Tuscaloosa Hyundai, corner of Skyland and Hargrove, TuscaloosaHyundai.com.
Where the season never ends. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. So, Chris, I am back with you guys. Hopefully, the connection will stay there. What about Mississippi State? Your thoughts on that basketball team?
You know, Georgia is a team that just makes it tough. And it looked like State maybe had a chance to get some separation. Georgia does what it always does. And then down the stretch, I thought State's ball movement was really good. I thought they got Tolo Smith isolated, let him make plays, taking it to the rim. That's a formula to win. Cam Matthews was really good again on Wednesday night. He's a guy who I think is one of the more underrated guys in the league. And State's got that Josh Hubbard dimension that it lacked last year. State needed to get a win against Georgia. I don't think it was a thing that really changed where they stand in the pecking order of the NCAA tournament, but certainly losing that game would have hurt State. So it was a take care of business game. And State took care of business.
You know, looking at Ole Miss and South Carolina, they both kind of shocked us this year with the phenomenal non-conference season they both had. It blew everybody out of the water because I didn't think anyone saw it coming. You know, looking at it, we're heading down the final home stretch of the conference schedule now. Which one, if not both, do you think fall off? Do they keep pace? Does one fall off, or do they both fall off?
Man, that's a good question. I don't think South Carolina, and I think it's a good team. I don't think it can continue to play at the level that it has. I say that because I look at the computers, okay? If we were just arguing resume, South Carolina is on probably the 2 or 3 line for the NCAA tournament. Now, the committee looks at other stuff, and the predictive computers say that South Carolina is more like a 10 seed, 9 seed. Now, do I buy either one? No. I think the truth is in the middle. Here's where I think Carolina has been undervalued by the predictive computers. I think that the way that Carolina plays, number one, it just feels like they get Talon Cooper to dribble out about 15 or 20 seconds of the clock on a lot of their possessions before they start going, and they get pretty decent looks. And so it's not an offensive team. You know, it's going to remind you of the 1980s Lakers, but Lamont Paris has made it work. He's built a style and an identity. They play to it. Oh, by the way, Talon Cooper never turns it over. So that helps too. Number two, I think the style and the pace, it gums people up. But the other thing, Colin Murray Boyles is a freshman in this league who doesn't get talked about a lot. He's going to be talked about a lot more going forward. He missed, I think, the first 8 games with mono. When Carolina got Miles Studi hurt, who's one of their big 4 scorers, that allowed him to play some more minutes. And I think if you look at his minutes, they've slowly crept up. He went, I think, for 16 and 9 the other night, had the biggest block in that game on Jamarian Sharp, just a game-changing play at the end. I think sometimes computers tell you, okay, this is what's happened the whole season. They don't give you a snapshot of where a team is right now. And I think Carolina being able to play through the Studi injury and giving Colin Murray-Boyles some more time, it has made this a better team going forward. And I think it's a team that just, no matter what the computers say, you can't take them lightly. And you can ask Tennessee and Kentucky. They can tell you all night long about what happens if you don't show up with your best.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the SEC right now, the 14-team slate, who's the one team that needs the most help? Well, who's outside the bubble who's trying to get in?
I think you got 9 teams that are in right now.
Okay.
But the teams that are fringier, they're Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss could be in that discussion with a couple more losses. I think the resume's got Ole Miss in solidly right now, but the predictive metrics don't like them, and that's a factor. Florida's a team that the predictive metrics have got that team safely in. It needs big wins. And A&M is the team to me that I've probably been as worried about as any of them because of the shooting, but you're starting to see their guards. And with Wade Taylor, it's been there all along, and he can hit tough shots at the end of the shot clock, and that's a big thing to have in March. But Tyrese Radford just has not had a good season. The last 2 games, he's looked a lot more like the Tyrese Radford we're used to. I'm concerned about A&M if the guard play is what it's been most of the season out of Radford.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not so concerned if what he's been the last 2 games is what they get, because that team's got enough parts and it's well coached enough they'll get there. But those are some yellow flags with about 3 or 4 teams there that are going to be worth watching as teams try to earn their way in and not play out.
If you don't have excellent guard play, you will not make a run in the big dance.
Right.
It is a formula it's bulletproof, solid every year in, year out. You do not see a team make a run with poor guard play. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. They're a hard-nosed team. They can get after you. They do play a slow pace that can bother some teams. And I think they've got the ingredients. It feels like they're starting to come together, but it's a little bit early to make that judgment definitively.
Chris, as we wrap up the month of February, and of course, we got 3 weeks left in it, what are some key games that we should keep our eye out for? You talked about you had Bama, Kentucky circled for later, but what are some key games that all SEC fans could heavily enjoy?
Let's go to this weekend. I'll give you a few. Auburn at Florida. Auburn, as good as Auburn is, Auburn needs some quad 1 wins. So does Florida. That's going to be a big one for somebody. Kentucky and Gonzaga this weekend. Gonzaga really needs that one to get in the tournament. This weekend we've also got, let's see, it's not the best of slates. I think Tennessee at A&M is interesting because A&M again has started to show some signs of life. Tennessee's just going to be tough to beat anywhere. That's a team I think that can lock down a lot of what A&M does. Those are some games I'm looking forward to. I think again that the Alabama-Kentucky game on February the 24th in Lexington, I mean that one might be 120 to 115. The way these teams score and the way they have defensive lapses. So if you like your basketball of that brand, that's one to watch. I mean, and anytime South Carolina plays anymore, they just can do so many things that take you out of your game. I think midweek next week, South Carolina goes to Auburn. I'd be a little more interested in that game if that was in Columbia, where Auburn just feels like it's invincible in Neville Arena. But here's the thing. You got 9 teams that be in the tournament every night. So most every game that you watch in the SEC is going to involve a tournament team. And then the next 2 teams after that are LSU and Georgia, which on a given night could give team problems. Really, unless you play Missouri, Vandy, or Arkansas, the games are interesting. I just think those are the bigger games that I'm looking for that I circle. But I think you can make a case that just about any time you turn on the TV and watch SEC games, probably 80% of the time, it's going to be something that's worth your watching.
I think that's fair to say. That's very fair to say. looking at, Arkansas went heavy in the transfer portal. It looked like they didn't only hit home runs in the transfer portal. It looked like they hit grand slams.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't panned out. It hasn't gelled. There's plenty of talent there. What in the world is happening up on the hill at the University of Arkansas?
Well, when you see a team that I thought was top 10 in the country in talent that's not going to be the top 10 in the SEC, you know it has gone wrong somewhere. No, I think the on-court stuff, the criticism of what Eric Musselman had done was that they didn't have enough shooting. And I think that's turned out to be valid. They just don't have you look back at some of the greater Arkansas teams, a Pat Bradley, a Scotty Thurman, somebody like that could just make buckets. They don't have that guy. Their point guard play, and Devo Davis, who was a rock for them a year ago, has been spotty. He left the team for a couple games, I think has come back. But anytime, and Musselman's done it so many times, you just kind of assume it's going to work. His roster has been built off transfers and guys that played more minutes other places than they played Arkansas. Until this year, he's held it all together. Look, the rumors about them have been wild and crazy. And that's the stuff that's going to happen when you meet expectations. I think the other thing I'm watching, and I don't think this is any real news, there's a lot of speculation he's going to get out of there and maybe take the Louisville job. So I wonder just how much is everybody focusing at a point where barring a run and barring either basically winning out the rest of their games, which they're not going to do, or a run in the SEC tournament, which is going to take them 4 or 5 games. I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's likely. And when you're to the point in mid-February where you have nothing to play for, how do you hold that together? I don't know.
There you go. Chris Lee, Southeastern 14, will soon be Southeastern 16. We'll save that conversation for another day, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Chris, take care.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
That was Chris Lee from Southeastern 14 talking SEC basketball. And when we come back, hopefully Stephen and his technical difficulties will be all wrapped up. You're listening to the Stingray Show here on Tide 100.9. Be back here in just a flash.
Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their #1 priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the 4-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the 4-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Roadwork continues on McWright's Ferry Road. The area is being extended down to Rice Mine Road. Also, lane closures in preparation for the work on the new 69 flyover bridge. We also have some slowing on...
Unless it's all in. Find a store and exclusive deals at TotalByVerizon.com. Monthly rate when you activate with autopay discount beginning the month after you enroll plus taxes and fees. Additional restrictions apply. See website for data management practices and full terms.
Your home for Alabama Crimson Tide football. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Welcome back, SEC fans, to the Stingray Show. And someone else we get to welcome back, Stingray. Hey, man, what happened to you, brother?
Dude, I sometimes I just absolutely despise technology.
Oh, well, we got the technical glitches worked out. Steven's glad to have you back there.
Thank you.
Me and Chris kind of missed you. It was like, we kept thinking you're coming back any second. I was like, well, I guess we'll just keep going on with the questions here. But hey, great segment with Chris Lee from Southeastern 14. If you missed any of that, check it out on the podcast. Steven, what in the world do you have on your mind right now?
The Super Bowl is this weekend, obviously on Sunday. So I figured, actually, you came up with this idea, and I think it was a great one, because there's a lot of people on social media that get in a uproar because of the Super Bowl halftime shows. So I thought a fave 5 for us to do today would be our favorite 5 Super Bowl halftime shows of all time.
There you go. It's not necessarily the best Super Bowl shows. It's just our personal favorite Super Bowl shows. So, Steven.
So, Heath, let's go on ahead and hear from you. Who do you have on your list?
All right. I get to go first. All right. Here we go. All right. 1997 Super Bowl. It was in New Orleans, but that Super Bowl show was somebody that I thoroughly enjoyed. They had movies. They were on skits. They were on Saturday Night Live. I bought their CD. None other than the Blues Brothers. Yeah. I absolutely love that halftime show. Quality-wise, it's probably not that great. Entertainment-wise, I thought it was outstanding. I love the Blues Brothers. All right, Steven, number 4, I'm going back to when it was Bruno Mars, Coldplay, Beyonce back in 2016.
Okay.
It was at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, where the 49ers played. And we had 2 SEC quarterbacks slugging it out that game, Cam Newton and Peyton Manning. But with that, I thought Bruno Mars brought the house down. Beyonce had all the crazy Jumbotron effects and video boards and all that on stage on the field, and I thought it was amazing. But Bruno Mars, I thought, stole that show. Going to number 3, this one kind of tugged at my hearts a little bit. If you're old enough to remember 9/11, they were telling us not to get in big groups. They were telling us to avoid stadiums and concerts and games and events and festivals. And, they were telling us to avoid all that. And I'll never forget that Super Bowl was also played at the Superdome. And there were fighter jets outside flying around the entire time. And there was just government officials everywhere and soldiers. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were kind of living in fear. But some of us were fearless, went to the game, and cheered on our teams, and we stopped. We weren't going to stop living life. We were going to keep living it to its fullest. And that Super Bowl, they did a tribute to the victims that were killed in the 9/11 attacks there in the Twin Towers and the first responders and everybody. And they had this big screen hanging from the top of the Superdome. They mentioned all the names of the people that we lost, and U2 was rocking out. And that banner fell during the performance right when they hit it. And, man, the place just came apart. It was an awesome show. Check that one out on YouTube. Hey, number 2, it's just from a couple of years ago, 2022. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent. Hey, anytime you put 50 Cent in there, yeah. Every 40-year-old walked into the halftime show with a gangster lean in their living room showing out to the kids. I was one of them. Love that show. One of my all-time favorites. And hey, number 1, the very first MTV halftime show. happened at the Rose Bowl. And guess what, Steven? I was at that Super Bowl. Yep. I was there, saw it with my own eyes. Michael Jackson doing it up. I watched it on YouTube like a year or so ago, and I forgot, hey, that was some big-time production for 1992. That was also the game where the Cowboys destroyed the Bills, the first win for the Cowboys in the 90s, the famous Leon Lett, Don Beebe game. But, Steven, there you go. My top 5 Super Bowl shows. What you got, brother?
Number 5, and let me just go ahead and say this. The majority of mine are probably going to be from 2000 on up because I'm a lot younger than you, Heath. So I'm going to start in 2015 with Katy Perry. Her entrance into that Super Bowl, riding in on a lion, that was pretty freaking awesome, dude.
I don't remember the lion. I do remember the dancing sharks, but I don't remember the lion. But I will have to check that out.
All right, at number 4, the first one that I actually do remember watching was Paul McCartney back in 2005, and especially the rendition that he did of Hey Jude. Na, 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 na. I love that. All right, at number 3, I am going with Bruno Mars.
Hey, Bruno's done 2 Super Bowl shows.
I'm going with the Bruno Mars one where he invited the Red Hot Chili Peppers to come on with him. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers came out and sang, "Give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away now." I love
Welcome to the Karaoke Show with Stingray.
So I had to put that one in there. All right, at number 2, I'm going with Tom Petty.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal show. And by the way, that was one of the ones that really got me hooked on Tom Petty, just simply because before that, the only song that I listened to from him was Mary Jane's Last Dance. But then that Super Bowl got me hooked on songs like American Girl, Running Down a Dream, and stuff like that. So Tom Petty is number 2. And then number 1 would definitely have to be Maroon 5.
Oh, okay. Big Maroon 5 fan. Okay.
Yes, I am. Now, like I said, the majority of mine were from 2000 on because I really don't remember any of the ones back in the 90s. But I will tell you, I do wish, and I probably will look this up later on, the one that Clint Black did back in the mid-90s. I definitely want to see that one because I am a country music buff.
Wow. You know, Justin Timberlake has done 2 halftime shows, one with the costume malfunction, whatever they call that, wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
And then he did that other one where he sang with that kid up in the stands. I was like, man, that you just made that kid's life. I mean, he'll be known as that kid for the rest of his life.
Right.
But, yeah, wow, okay. That's
all right. So, Heath, to wrap up the Stingray Show, Sunday, Patrick Mahomes versus Brock Purdy, San Francisco versus Kansas City, there in Las Vegas. Who you got, man? Are you going with Kansas City getting it done again, going back to back? Or does San Francisco throw a wrinkle and get their first one since the early 2000s?
I'm just here to watch the drama from all the Swifties and anti-Swifties. No, I think I really do think Kansas City's a better team, but I think they have some mental lapses at times. I think if they keep it mentally together, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game easily. I really do. Now,
your mental lapses that you're mentioning right there, they have a lot of receivers that at times do drop a lot of passes.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what you're talking about, and that could come into play because they are on a big stage on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game no matter what. I mean, can the 49ers win this game? Absolutely.
I'm going different from you, Heath. I'm going Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel get the championship back to California in San Francisco. I'm going with San Francisco winning the Super Bowl.
There you go. All right. It's going to be a fun game. Right. It's going to be fun. This is what I just hope, Stephen. I hope our commercials are not politically correct. Let's have some fun with these commercials. You're spending $7 million. You should at least make me laugh, right?
Yes. So, Heath, on that note, we are going to sign off here on the Stingray Show. We hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it with Chris Lee and us talking about the Super Bowl and college basketball. Tune in for another Stingray Show tomorrow. And, Heath, that is going to do it. We will see you guys on down the road. And on down the road is tomorrow evening right back here on the Stingray Show.
Brock.